Okay, for this video, I'm just going to take up from the end of the last video and just move 2 points a bit more. This is where the code got to, because I think this is quite useful and it helps you play around with this a little bit more. You can do very clever things with this. Both points are set at the same starting point, but let's make it near the top of the screen this time. Delete that, so they're 100, 100, and that one starts at 100, 100. Let's draw P in that way, but let's make P red. So we set the outline, and we'll make that red. And let's make Q, blue or yellow. Q, set outline, choose a different color. Play with it without a doubt. Right, let's do that. And we'll make it make it blue, because yellow may not be visible. Right, so I've got these 2 points. I'm going to just speed it up a bit so it doesn't pause for such a long time. Now watch what happens. One is going to go, here's the question for you. Q is going to move 10, but is that going to go horizontally or down? The first number is always horizontal, the second number is vertical. Right? Pay attention to that. The more you play with that, the more it makes sense. Let's run it. Bear with me a second, I didn't want the bookmarks to appear. Right, run that, and here's the screen. Remember, I have my pause at the top so I can click on the screen to get the whole thing started. Right, go. There's my starting point, 2 different colors. You notice they're just moving away, and now we have something like an animation going on in front of you just by simply by moving it. Let's just change the sleep time to 0.2 so it looks much faster. Let's make it go on for longer, make the range 100 so it loops 100 times, right? So it loops 100 times. Play with these numbers yourself, and it pauses for slightly shorter, so it should look more like an animation. Let's run it. Bring it over, click. Look at that. Now, I want to give you a challenge before you continue. I've got one extra bracket. You notice it's complaining. I've got 2 extra brackets here, so let's just get rid of one. Right, before you continue on to the next, which is going to bring other objects and all kinds of circles and different shapes into place, what I'd like you to do is add 2 more points. Find the center of the screen and make them all move away from the center. Okay, now what I would recommend you do at this point is pause. Right? Look at the screen for the code to help you guide you. Click the pause now, and after you lift the pause, I'm going to talk you through it. So click the pause now. Okay, welcome back. And let's code it and compare what I have done with what you're going to do. This point is 100, 100, 100, 100, right? So let's just use 2 more. R, create another point here, started at 100, 100. Now I said I asked you to center it. For the time being, I'm just going to stick to my code at 100, and then we're going to look at how we actually center it and what the right way to do that. So I've got 4. I want to draw each of them, maybe give them all a different color. For the time being, if I just take the color out, right, you can play with that yourself. Let's just draw each of them. So I'll pause it and I'll draw that for you, or you can watch me do it. So I've got P. Generally when you code, it's easy just to grab it, copy, paste, and change that to an R if it lets me. Come along code, let me do that, right? So there's an R, right, and there's an S. Okay, so I've got 4 of them. Then in this movement, this is the clever bit. So that's moving across and not moving vertically or horizontally. That's moving down from that point. How do I make R, let's start with R, how do I make it go up? Well, horizontally, am I moving it left or right? No, I'm not. So keep that as 0. Am I moving it in the positive x direction, i.e. the number going to the right? No, it isn't. To make it go to the left, decrease the number, make it a negative. Let's do the same thing with S. Right? With S, we're going to move, not draw. Now with S, is going to move up. So in order to move it up, I need to change the no, sorry, in order to move it, I've kind of muddled this up a bit. Did you notice that? That is the up and down, these two, right? And I've just messed my code up. And this is the left and right. Okay, if I can make a mistake just while I'm explaining, you can guarantee you'll make a mistake. So the more you play with it, the more confident you will be. Let's just help us by saying that P is going to move down. So I'm going to call it down. Q is going to move right. Right. R is going to move up. I'm changing the name of the container, the label, because it will help me work my code out. And S is going to move left. Right? So all I'm going to do is change that to down, and change the letter right. In this sequence here doesn't matter so much because they're all being drawn. Okay? Up and then left. Okay, and then down here we've got to work out which one. So down, here's the bit for you to do. You can pause the video now and work out which one is which. This is 10, first value goes horizontally, so it's right. This is 10 on the vertical going down, right? And I'm doing this demonstration for you. This is coming up because it's easy to get these things confused, and this is going left. So the reason I've just done this up, down, right, left for your benefit and for this video is because it will help hopefully you understand how the whole thing works and moves. And you should copy this and practice this, right? Let's run it. Let's see what happens. Click. There's my starting point. You see they radiate out from a central point. Those two others have disappeared because 100 isn't the best place to start. So really, actually, to do this more interestingly, let's run it again. Give me a second. I really want the center of this screen. I want the point here, but how do I find it? What I do is I measure the length of this and halve it and pop it into the start point, and I do the same thing vertically. Right, so it doesn't start over here 100, it actually finds the middle. So let's do that. So let's think how we would do that. How would we do that? Well, look at this here. This object called Windows is the actual screen, and it will tell me how wide it is. But I'm going to put that detail, if I call it width, and I'm going to hold it in width, and I'm going to say to the window, tell me what is your width. So let's scroll down, and if you notice there's something called width, get width. It will tell me what its width is. I'm going to also ask it what its height is. Right, so win.get height. There we go. Nice and convenient. Let's and then what I really want to do is to get the midpoint. I've got to split that down the middle and split that down the middle. Right? So let's do that in the next line. So if I create another variable called w and I take the width and I divide it by 2, and I take one called h and I take the height and I divide it by 2. So once I've done that, instead of 100, why don't I put width, which is midway, height, for all of the points. So rather than copy and write it all, I'm just going to copy and paste it in and see whether this will center my code. We're almost at the end of this particular video, right? And it's complaining about something's gone red, but we shall see. Let's just run it and see whether there's an issue. Bear with me a second. Sorry, there was an extra bracket. I've just deleted it. I don't know if you spotted it. Let's run it. There's my screen. Where do they start from? Bang, in the middle of the screen. Okay, so now this video is very, very useful before I finish, because it shows you, in the next video I'll pick up from here and wrap up a few points that you should experiment with.